Welcome back, everyone. Time to do another comparison this time around between the iPhone 12 that just got announced or released. I guess it's been out for a couple months now, and the iPhone SE. Now, what's very interesting is that both these phones are completely different from one another, but in the feeling in the hand, for some reason, they both feel the same, and that's because of the flat sides. Now, I'll find the cheapest ones of both of these, link them down in the description below. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now, one thing I will definitely tell you is that the iPhone SE is the much smaller phone when it comes down to it. I mean, this thing has a 4-inch panel on it, and it's definitely not a ginormous display, but I would probably say it's a smaller display in this day and age. It definitely has, kind of had an interesting childhood, I would say. It was a really cheap iPhone when it first came out, and it's still extremely cheap. You can pick up these things for less than $80, and that 4-inch panel on the front is still perfectly fine. And with iOS 14, it really does add, a lot more breath, of fresh air to this specific device. Like I said before, it's not perfect, but it's very interesting what Apple was able to do with this specific, device in this size. The iPhone 12, on the other hand, has a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED panel on it, and it's definitely a far better panel when it comes down to it. I mean, this panel has a lot going for it for sure. It's extremely crisp, and it's definitely a far better looking panel than the iPhone SE, but the resolution is higher and everything like that, but the panel on this thing is extremely beautiful for sure. So when it comes down to it, the iPhone 12 by far has a much better looking panel than the iPhone SE. Now, in terms of the thinness and thickness between the two, you can definitely tell that actually I would kind of say that they kind of have the same feeling going on. Maybe the iPhone SE is just slightly thinner, just by a little bit, but I don't know. They both kind of feel like the same thing going on. Maybe the iPhone SE is actually thicker. I'm not really too sure. And you can see the screen is kind of protruding on the top left, which is really funny. But I think the thickness, they've kind of got the same thing going on. And on the back, you can definitely see we have a little bit of difference for sure. The iPhone 12, as you can see, has a full glass back, where the iPhone SE only has the aluminum back for the most part and glass on the top and bottom. But the iPhone 12 for sure is the better built phone when it comes down to it. So in terms of the outside, that pretty much covers it up. Now, software-wise, this is also another difference. We are still supported on both for the most part, obviously, but the iPhone 12 is going to far outlast the iPhone SE for sure. This phone is going to outlast this phone by several years, and to give you some perspective, the iPhone SE is pretty much done getting support. It's not going to be, supported for, many, many more years. This thing is most probably going to end off at iOS 14, which is pretty sad, but that's pretty typical. Apple supported this phone for quite a bit of time, so theoretically, when it comes down to it, the iPhone 12 is going to far outlast the iPhone SE. Now let's go and do a speed test between both these phones. The iPhone 12 has that Apple A14 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone SE, on the other hand, has that Apple A9 chip inside of it with 2 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go and see which one is the faster phone between both of these. Okay, now that we're back, I think I had already cleared out all the apps in the background, as you guys can see. Let me go and clear it here. So let's go and start loading some of these apps up. Let's do phone calls, 3, 2, 1. And I think the iPhone 12 was faster there, but the iPhone SE was still pretty smooth for the most part. Messages, and let's do App Store, 3, 2, 1. And again, the iPhone 12 far faster there. The iPhone SE shortly behind. Now let's go and kind of scroll through both. And you can see that, in my opinion, the iPhone SE is a little bit slower, but it's actually fairly smooth on both too, which I'm pretty surprised about. Loading seems to be faster on the iPhone 12 as well, but I'm actually pretty surprised how fast and smooth the iPhone SE still is. So that is pretty cool for the iPhone SE. Now, as always, I have a bunch of these third-party apps that we can go and get into. So let's go ahead and do something like Dropbox, 3, 2, 1. And you can see the iPhone 12 far faster than the iPhone SE for sure. Let's go and hop out of this one. Let's go and do Quizlet, 3, 2, 1. And you can see iPhone 12, again, far faster. iPhone SE, a little bit behind, not insane, but definitely a noticeable difference. Let's do Netflix, 3, 2, 1. And again, iPhone 12 is faster. iPhone SE, a little bit behind there for sure. Let's do Thank You, 3, 2, 1. And again, the iPhone 12 is faster, followed by the iPhone SE a little bit behind. So there was a little bit of a difference right there. Getting into some gameplay to see if there's a difference. And as always, I really don't think there's going to be an insane difference, but for sure the iPhone 12 is faster. Snake versus Blocks, 3, 2, 1. And you can see again, the iPhone 12 is faster here. The iPhone SE a little bit behind, getting into some gameplay. And as always, I don't think there's going to be an insane difference, but this is typically what we see, and I'm actually really happy about the performance that we're seeing on the iPhone SE for sure. Fruit Ninja 321, and typically I always see that the iPhone 12s are going to be faster than their predecessors, especially when we compare this old to this old. But I'm really happy about the iPhone SE's performance. It's been pretty decent and it's been smooth as well. So even though the iPhone 12 won there, I'm still happy about the iPhone SE for sure. And I guess we can go and end it off with Stack 321. I thought I had some other apps here too, but I guess not. But I guess we'll see in like 2 seconds. And that pretty much covers this one up too. I mean, look, the iPhone 12 is the far faster phone pretty much on any single app that you're going to test. Now, I thought I did have an apps like Real Racing 3 or something, but I guess I don't. But we do have Temple Run 2. 3, 2, 1. And even to click on the app was faster on the iPhone 12, which is pretty, this was expected. And you can see that the iPhone 12 just flying by in this case. And you can see the iPhone 12 fully loaded. The iPhone SE is going to be a little bit behind, which is totally okay. And even just to, overall, the iPhone 12 was the far faster device here for sure. So, I mean, to kind of sum up this comparison, I can definitely tell you with the speed test, the iPhone 12 is the far faster device. The iPhone SE was behind for sure, but I wouldn't let you just, look at the speed and be like, yo, that's the biggest difference, because there are some bigger differences here. But for sure, the speed on the iPhone 12 is far faster than the iPhone SE. Let's go in on the cameras. As mentioned before, the iPhone SE has a single 12 megapixel sensor, where the iPhone 12 has two 12 megapixel sensors, a 12 megapixel wide and a 12 megapixel ultra wide sensor. Now, for sure, when it comes down to it, I feel like I start every camera thing like that. It's definitely not an amazing camera anymore. You can do 4K videos on it, but it is pretty outdated when it comes down to it, because the capability just really isn't there. I mean, you have, like I said, 4K, you can only do 1080p on the front camera, but I think if you're going day to day, you're probably going to have an okay experience with this type of lens, but it's definitely not going to be anybody's first choice. And I don't know if I don't think I've done a camera comparison between these two, but I can definitely tell you the iPhone 12 is going to have a far better camera than this thing. But this is actually still pretty good. It's still a pretty good lens for the most part. I think if you had to, you could use it and you'd probably have a good time with it. But definitely the iPhone 12 is a far better lens. You have a lot of different capability within this phone. You have, the ultra wide sensor, which is awesome. You have 4K 60 on the back, but even better than that, you have 4K 60 on the front of this phone as well. The front camera on the iPhone 12 can shoot 4K at 60, which is a huge asset for it. The iPhone SE does not support that, so keep that in mind. But you still have 4K on the back of this phone too, the iPhone SE, but you have more features built in. You have portrait mode, you have, a lot of different capability within this device that the iPhone SE just doesn't really have. So keep that in mind. But I'll probably tell you the iPhone 12 is a far better phone between these two. Now, ending it off with the battery life, as I stated before, the iPhone SE has a smaller battery for sure, and I've already done a battery test between these two, and I saw that the iPhone 12 has a better battery life when it comes down to it. So to kind of sum up this video and say into the comparison, should you pick up an iPhone SE or a 12, or should you go upgrade from your SE to the 12? What I can tell you is that, both these phones had their day of time. The iPhone SEs was, back in probably 2016, 2017, even 2018, pretty much any time before the iPhone SE2 was released. But as of this point, the iPhone 12 is the no-brainer. But I will tell you, after today, after doing the speed comparison and stuff, honestly, and the way they feel in the hand and everything, the iPhone SE is still a really good contender, and it has a lot of capability still. It's not perfect. There are a lot of caveats. I feel like the camera is one of those areas that it does kind of, it isn't that great in, especially the front camera. The longevity of the support is one of its biggest negatives, I think. It's not getting support anymore. But really, wherever the iPhone SE just doesn't do too well in, the iPhone 12 really rocks out. I mean, it has a lot of capability for sure. It just has a lot more features and a lot more going for it. So it's nothing against the iPhone SE. I love this phone to death. But if it came down to it, the iPhone 12 is the far better phone when it comes down to it. So that really pretty much covers it up for the most part. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count. So it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my other channels. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.